Welcome, I'm Allyson Martino, and I'm here with Mark Freed today for another episode of Product Tips with Mark Freed. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Allyson. Glad to be here.
Today we're going to talk about fluorescence. Mark, can you tell me the difference between superior tubes and short-life tubes?
Sure, Allyson. The standard short-life residential grade lamps, they use a single-wound carbon cathode. And that deteriorates, which is called cathode erosion, and that causes a loss of 40% light output in only 6 months. Now, in Superior's heavy-duty line, Superior uses a triple-wound double tungsten cathode, and it's got a cathode guard shield to prevent cathode erosion. We can guarantee our tubes for 84 months not to lose more than 5% light output, flicker, or turn black on the ends. Now, we also use brass end pins instead of aluminum end pins for a better electrical connection with the fixture. Now, the phosphor blend that we use allows our 4-foot T12 lamps to be 69% brighter than the standard lamps. And the F32 T8 lamps are 42% brighter. And both of these tubes have gold end caps to signify quality.
Wow, Mark, that's remarkable. Could you tell me the difference between the F40 T12 and the F32 T8 lamps?
Sure. The F40 T12 lamps are 12/8 of an inch in diameter, and the F32 T8 lamps are 8/8 of an inch in diameter, which means the 4-foot T12s are 1.5 inches wide, and the 4-foot T8s are 1 inch wide. Now, the 4-foot T8s and T12s use different ballasts, so they're not interchangeable. So you can't put a 4-foot T8 lamp in a fixture that takes a 4-foot T12, unless of course you change the ballast, and vice versa. Now the F40 lamps are 40-watt tubes, where the F32s are 32 watts. Now the things that both of these tubes have in common though, is that they're both 4 foot long, and both of them have medium bipin ends.
Mark, where can we find those tubes in the catalog?
Well, Allyson, all the fluorescents can be found in the master catalog under the fluorescent tab, and the F40 T12s are on page 3, and the F32 T8s are on page 4.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Mark. What about the 8-foot tubes? Why are there 3 different kinds?
I'll tell you, Allyson, that's a good story. Originally, the standard 8-foot tube has a single pin. Now, it's called the F96 T12. It's 96 inches long and 12/8 of an inch in diameter, 1.5 inches, same as the F40 T12. Now, they're primarily used in factories and warehouses, and you can find those on page 5 in the master catalog under the fluorescent tab. And these tubes use 75 watts. Now, what happened was they wanted to get more light in the same area. So what they did is they invented the high output tubes. Now, these tubes have a recessed double contact end. It's 2 pins inside an oval piece of plastic. So they don't use the same fixture, so they couldn't be put in the wrong fixtures by accident. Now, this tube is 110 watts, and it's a lot brighter, and you can find the high output tubes on page 6. They still weren't happy with the amount of light output that they were getting from the high output tubes, so they came up with the very high output tubes. Now, unfortunately, they decided to keep the same end with the very high output tubes that they use with the high output tube, the recessed double contact. So they can actually be put in the wrong fixtures accidentally. But they're run by different ballasts, just like the F40 T12s and the F32 T8s. So you do have to be careful not to sell them the wrong product, because they will fit into the fixture even though it's not the correct bulb. Now the very high output tubes use 215 watts. As you can imagine, they're going to be a lot brighter than the high output tubes or even the single pin tubes. And you can find the very high output tubes on page 7.
That's very interesting, Mark. What else could you tell me about fluorescent tubes?
Well, we carry a full line of different wattage and different length tubes, other than the 4-foot and the 8-foot lamps. But the 4-foot and 8-foot tubes are going to be your primary sellers. Now we also have a full line of different colors for different applications, but primarily, and for almost every application, the fresh white extra brights are the ones you want to go with.
Mark, thanks for all that useful information. I appreciate you taking the time to answer all my questions.
You're welcome.
And thank you everyone for coming to this episode of Product Tips with Mark Freed. Check back for the next edition of Product Tips with Mark Freed coming soon.